Good evening and welcome to the March 5th, 2024 Lower Frederick Township Board of Supervisors General Meeting. Let's all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everyone who is on the roll call is present at this meeting. Announcements. Township meetings are recorded for the purpose of preparing the minutes, and the recording is destroyed after the minutes are approved. The meeting will be posted online at on the Township YouTube channel. The link can be found on the Board of Supervisors page on the Township website. It is requested that all persons wishing to speak before the board shall state their name, address, and the subject matter upon which they wish to speak for the record. In the interest of facilitating the business of the board, all persons addressing the board shall be limited to 3 minutes unless such time is extended by the chair for good cause. Individuals are requested to remain in their seats and to respect when other persons are speaking. The Board of Supervisors will provide a reasonable opportunity for citizens to comment on any non-agenda items after all agenda items have been addressed, but prior to the adjournment of the public meeting. And we had an executive session immediately prior to this meeting to discuss litigation and employment issues. We do not have any minutes to approve this evening, so we'll start with the treasurer's report.
Okay, so this is the treasurer report through February 29, 2024. So we ended the month at $186,066, which is up 4.7% from last year. Real estate transfer tax, we ended at $20,791, which is down 69.6% from last year. And our current delinquent real estate tax is $14,730, which is up 22.7% from 2023. Total revenue, the general fund, $257,963, which is $4,700 over budget, down 15.9% from last year. Total expenses was $615,803, which is $62,000 over budget, and it's up $104,000 from last year. The net income for the general fund is negative $357,840. The township's budgeted net income is $290,903. The performance is under budget by 23%. Overall revenues passed on or on budget for EIT real estate, franchise fees, and CD banking interests. And most other line items are revenue either on budget or slightly below budget. Real estate transfer permits are under budget, and we received 10.7% of our overall budget revenue. Township's expenses are on or close to budget for most line items. Expenses under budget are legal services and police officer wages. Expenses are over for capital reserve transfer, public works wages, admin wages, property liability insurance, building repairs, and engineer. We spent 21.7% of our 2024 budget. Overall, the township's performance is down from 2023, mostly for wages. We have 2 more employees than we did last year, and capital purchases. We received one of the police vehicles and one of the public works trucks we've been waiting months for. Any questions on the general fund? Sewer fund, sewer rental, sewer use charge is 1.7% over budget, with sewer revenue surpassing budget by 0.7% for interest in sewer rental, sewer use charge. Expenses are on or below budget for most line items. Sledge hauling, supplies, chemicals, and insurance bonding are over budget. Some expenses are under budget. Sewer expenses are under budget by 6.1%. The net income overall is $181,040, which is $7,200 over budget. The fund has earned 21.5% of its revenue budget and 6.2% of its expense budget. Liquid fuels, we've had multiple snow events over the first 2 months of the year. The fund has already surpassed its budget for interest, and the fund is over $5,500 for expenses. The fund has earned 1.4% of its revenue budget and spent 4.2%. The actual net income is negative $14,289, which is 29.8% under budget. Open space fund, the net income is $14,854. Total available dollars with current allocation for property conservation easement grant is $171,960. Expenses so far have been for EIT commission and proposals. The ARPA Code Relief Fund, total available dollars with current allocation for the Mach 24 grant is $268,349. There have been no expenses so far in 2024. And we started our annual 2023 audit approximately 2 weeks ago. Any questions?
Any questions from the board? So on the agenda under the ARPA Relief Fund, that should be $268,349 instead of the $379,500.
Yeah, the 379 is the cash, but
So that's what's available, even though we have, that much money is in the bank, but we have allocated some.
Yeah, the 268 is with the allocation. I believe you guys asked me like 7 months ago to point that out.
Great, thank you. Any other questions? No, okay. All right, so now we'll move on to payment of bills. We have bills to approve and to pay in the general fund in the amount of $74,936.76. In the capital fund, $115,794. Sewer fund, $40,132.75. Sewer capital fund, $11,351.50. Liquid fuel, $6,024.94. And open space fund, $3,000. Any questions about any of those?
There is
Sorry?
There is a Saxon Son payment out of the sewer fund that I pulled out on the cover sheet for the bills list for $700. I know Terry's going to recuse me from those.
So,
I'll recuse myself from the sewer fund.
from the sewer fund. So does that amount under sewer fund, does that include the 700, or should we make that smaller?
It includes
So that should be 432.75, if I've done that right.
Yeah, the cert, yeah,
39,400. Great, okay, got that right. Okay, so we will have one vote to pay all the bills, and then the second one just for the $700 in the sewer fund. Everyone okay with that?
It's fine. I'll just recuse myself of all the bills. How's that? Just go ahead.
No, we can just do two votes, that would be more appropriate, that's fine. So would someone like to make a motion to pay all of the bills minus the $700?
Also move.
Thank you, do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, so we had Supervisor Halter made the motion, Supervisor Byrd made the second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passed unanimously, and now we need a vote to pay the bill for $700 in the sewer fund. Do I have a motion?
Also move.
Thank you, do I have a second?
Second.
All right, so Supervisor Halter made the motion, Supervisor Byrd made the second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The vote on that was 4 in favor, 0 opposed, and we had 1 recusal, Supervisor Sachs. Okay, that takes us to staff reports. Engineer?
Thank you. Just a quick recap of where some projects are today. Melbourne Hill is waiting still planning approval and final development documents. The Prestige development for Farmview Estates is awaiting Conservation District approval of their NPDES permit plans. Minor plan revisions remain, and also the final documents must be completed and executed. Late last week, we documented the conclusion of recent site activity to remove additional rubbish from that property. Genterra, this month we responded to reports of excavation equipment on site. Equipment was found performing soil testing, and no further activity was reported. At Arcadia Station, the developer continues working towards closing the development and dedicating a portion of the open space. Loctite is an open construction project over at Big American Simmons Road. 467 Gravel Pike or Leckmore, a pre-construction meeting was held in January, but start of work is delayed for suitable weather conditions. At 36 Smith Road, the house construction is nearly complete. Remaining stormwater facilities must be constructed, again, when conditions are suitable. 118 Colonial Drive is still the same status as last month. There was lot grading around a new home that's not consistent with the approved grading and stormwater plan, and builder's engineer has been tasked with developing a solution. Over at 205 Hendricks Road, grading and stormwater permit have been approved for construction of a single-family home on that lot. No change in 46 Kratz Road, where a stormwater management plan was recommended for approval for construction of a new garage and added impervious. The Sandbrook subdivision driveway pipe installation is still planned on Lot 2. Weather conditions have prevented Saks and Sons from completing installation. In public projects, there's a project to install flood barriers for the Headworks building and filter building at the wastewater treatment plant. That is out for bid right now. The project is funded by FEMA as a mitigation project, and those bids are due in late March 26th. The Spring Mount Road sidewalk, the next step in this project is easement acquisition, and we expect to schedule meetings with impacted property owners in coming weeks. The Zieglerville Road pavement repairs for 2024. Last week, the Public Works Director and I walked Zieglerville Road to mark out areas that exhibit phase failure. And RG's doing that job. We are currently evaluating that data to prepare a recommendation on pavement repairs. And then lastly, we have the Main Road Special Study. Letters will be sent to roughly 30 property owners in effort to schedule field visits to these properties. And the purpose of the visit is to identify potential issues of concern with the on-lot systems. This is a necessary step in the needs assessment for the Main Road Special Study. Those are all the general items on my report this evening, and I'll address specific items as they come on the agenda.
Thank you. Are there any questions for our engineer? Okay, anything from the public? Okay, let's move on to solicitor report.
I have nothing.
Okay, that was quick. Staff reports, police.
Thank you. Calls of service for the police department, total calls in this township for 318. 284 were handled by Lower Frederick, 34 were handled by state police. 34 citations were issued during the month. Some of the breakdowns: 7 for school zone, 13 speeding, stop sign 3, obedience were 5, and other moving violations were 6. In your packet, there's speed data for 2 areas of the township. Gravel Pike and Little Road is a 35-mile-per-hour zone. The average reported speed was 39.33 miles an hour, or 66.6% effectiveness. Big Road Burloff, Big Road Burloff Road, also a 35-mile-per-hour zone. The average reported speed was 38.65, which was a 65.7% effectiveness. Police departments completed both candidate interviews for the open position of police officer. There's 2 candidates that are in polygraph and background fees, and we're going to be working on that frivolously to get the position filled. As Township Manager mentioned, we took possession of the new Explorer that the board approved several weeks back. It's going to get graphics this week, and we hope to have it on the street next week to show it off. Also, the police department, specifically Officer Lauer, has worked in conjunction with the Park and Rec Board for the traffic guarding project. The cooperative effort has produced something that I think all the township residents are going to be proud of. I have nothing further about the answer any questions.
I don't know if it's really a question, more a comment. Usually this time of year, when the weather gets warmer and the days get longer, we see an uptick in crime. So is there anything in particular you'd like residents to be aware of?
We'll set up with investigations. Some of the investigations we can't discuss because of confidentiality matters. as we resolve those crimes and arrests, we'll, as we pass, we'll let you guys know. Overall, there's nothing to be aware of. All thing I would say is make sure residents keep their lights on, and the exterior lights. There, you'd be amazed at what a deterrent is.
Thank you. Anyone here from the fire company?
Yes.
Oh, great.
hold
Oh,
on.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Sorry, we just have a question. Go
It's
ahead.
just a fire alarm, so
Just hold on one sec.
Just wanted to comment on your traffic reports, so, looks like you recorded a maximum speed of 94 miles an hour on Little Road?
Yeah.
35 mile an hour speed limit?
That would be operator that probably wanted to see how fast they could get the side up
Oh, my God.
to speed Frank.
And it, but I mean,
2 and 3 in the morning.
but I mean, looking at the bulk of the data on these graphs, more people are in that threshold, that 10 mile an hour over threshold than are at speed limit or under.
Correct.
Yeah, so,
It's, the speed sign's more of a deterrent to make people aware than going without any notification. Kind of puts them in the, quote unquote, makes them realize how fast they're going, especially with the one side was posted
The
coming into the
maximum
circle.
speeds.
I mean, I guess it's understandable looking at the way traffic or people are traveling that, you know, when you first look at the overall numbers and it says, oh, well, you know, it's 38 or 39 is the average, but there's some people going pretty fast on those roads.
There is.
Yeah.
And there's, when we go to one area and where we're getting complaints,
Yeah.
speed starts in the other area. So we're trying to be all over the township as much as possible.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Go ahead.
I'm Scott Angsted, I'm the fire chief for Lower Frederick and Schwartzville Borough. For the month of February, we had a total of 25 calls. We had 8 in Lower Frederick, 2 in Upper Frederick, 7 in Schwenksville, 2 in Upper Salford, 2 in Perkiomen, 1 in Marlboro, and 1 in Upper Hanover. We did have one building fire that was at 36 Village Drive, and it affected 35 and 37 on either side of them. They're the townhouses across the street. It was a 11:45 at night, and I live across the street, the development across from the firehouse, and directly across it, it was glowing in the sky as soon as I popped out my door. Fire company did a very good job of getting there quickly, putting hose through the bottom floor, because it was a middle of the row of, I think there's 7 units there, basically, and starting to hit it from the outside, basically, and then brought a second line in to go to the second floor. That particular house, the roof burned off of it, and the floor between the first and second floor, which is truss, started to fail. Actually, it's the truss where they have the 2x4s, and they basically build a flat truss that is has a pressure plate steel that they hold it together with, more or less. So it didn't completely fail, but it was really sagging. The firewalls did a really good job. The houses on either side had a little bit of damage. It started to get into there, but it didn't really get a hold. Basically, mostly water and smoke damage. The only thing is, because the middle house was kind of a loss, and the firewalls, which are like doubled up drywall in between the other 2 houses, that stuff is probably going to have to be replaced. So all 3 residences are going to be displaced for a while, actually. So the other thing I wanted to share is we've filed for its assistance to the firefighters grant. It's a federal grant. They have it yearly. Usually you apply for it December, January, and it takes a full year to basically get things approved and then get whatever you purchased. They usually go by, they seem like they have certain things that they're looking to help with every year. There were five fire companies that did it. It was for There were Berks in Bucks County, we were the only one in Montgomery County. Out of that, we received 20 sets of bunker pants and bunker coats, 20 sets of firefighting boots, 29 pair of firefighting gloves, 32 firefighter helmets, 32 high visibility vests, and 20 ladder harness belts, which we use when we're working off the ladder to secure ourselves. The total amount was for $89,000, and out of that, the fire company was responsible for 10%, so we ended up kicking in $8,900, but it was a good thing. We applied for another grant for this upcoming year for all new hose, supply line and attack lines basically, and new nozzles and that type of thing. So it may not be till October, November before we hear about what we're hoping to be able to keep things rolling and get fortunate to get these grants basically. So, and that's all I got.
Thank you, and thank you all for all your hard work.
Thank you.
Any questions? Okay, great. Ambulance?
So they had a total of 22 calls for the month of January. I just want to know they did send out a request to add more information. I have not had that conversation yet with them, so.
All right, Public Works?
So for the month of February, they did 4 sewer inspections for UNOs, 1 plow event, they cold patched potholes, performed ditch cleaning, they had some major rain and windstorm cleanup, they installed bird count signs and dog park signs, replaced outdoor and indoor lights in the township building, and they worked with the township engineer gathering data for the railroad heating project.
Thank you. If there are no questions, we'll move on to the Board and Commission reports. Environmental Advisory Council.
Gary is at another meeting tonight. He's hoping to join in because he's interested in the sewer information. And I hope you can bear with me as the vice chair. It's turned on. Noel, can you hear me?
Is it green?
It's green.
So you just have to get
You have to be a little
close. You have to be pretty close.
Okay. All right, so Gary's not here because he has another meeting to be at. He hopes to join in because he wants information about the sewer. I think Carol's going in tonight. So our EAC met on February 19th, and our working groups updated other council members and visitors about the information that they've gathered. So our stormwater working group will be attending the Perkiomen and Watersheds Conservancy's Stormwater Symposium at Ursinus this Friday. The program promises to send home participants with educational and volunteer activities for the residents. These activities may fulfill some of our township's required minimum control measures of education, recreation, participation of residents in our stormwater management or MS4 program. Jason assisted the EAC in registering for 2 free EAC member tickets. Thank you, Jason. And that is because we are benefactor level members with the Perkiomen Watershed. Our renewable energy group reported about their participation in the virtual training on large-scale utility solar. Our township has a code that addresses solar structures as accessory to a property, but it does not address, to the best of our understanding, freestanding solar fields such as large-scale commercial solar or community solar. The working group will continue to explore further information regarding sample recommendations for township codes. We welcome any feedback that the township might have on those things. Our working group also that has been exploring the idea of EV charging station at the township building reported that they're unsure that there is the ability to procure grants or a need for this at the present time in this location. Grants available last year may not be available this year. They had been exploring the state alternative funds infrastructure grant, and they've now discovered it is for municipalities with an electric vehicle fleet. So Lower Frederick does not qualify for that grant. We will continue to look for grant programs. Several residents had asked the EAC what can be addressed about road salt use for our winter road and sidewalk care in regards to the effect of salt on plants and water quality. Our township road crew does a very good job minimizing salt use. However, state roads often use brine, which the township does not have control over. In a Penn State virtual session, some EAC members learned about research being done regarding runoff of salt in stormwater infrastructures. Salt content in waterways during the winter months can rise up to 50% ocean levels, so that's very high. What they have been studying is that when that salt content gets that high, it actually increases the amount of metals that are released from our stormwater management basins into the water and then into the creeks and streams. So they're studying, one of the things is keeping a prescribed water level constant at the bottom of infiltration basins, and that seems to decrease the amount of salt flowing out of the basin and therefore decreases the amount of metals also flowing out. So it was very informative. They also are studying which plants help with infiltration and evapotranspiration of pollutants and salt. And in their study, switchgrass is the best thing to plant to your water basin. Joe Potteweed's pretty good too, but it usually doesn't last the winter months to actually regrow except from the seed. EAC will be participating in the stream cleanup in April and also the Park Board Spring Fest in May. Our Did You Know for this month is that snowdrops and crocuses may be blooming and are signs of spring, that it's just around the corner. And with the occasional warm day, you may be eager to get outside and start clearing your gardens and flower beds. However, many beneficial insects and pollinators overwinter in the garden debris, and conditions are not quite right for them to emerge. So it's best to leave your garden just be for a while, but how long should you wait? This month's Did You Know is a link to information to help you decide when it's safe to do, and you get to decide, when it's safe for you to do your outdoor spring cleaning. And we'll have this linked on, it'll go out as a blast, it'll also be on our minutes, and then it also gets posted on the EAC website. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you for that comprehensive report. Open Space Committee?
Good evening, this is Andrew Lang reporting to the Open Space Committee. We met on February 14, 2024. Not too much to report from this meeting. We mainly discussed the recent news at that time that we had received our grant from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Department Islands Conservation Program, which will be put into effect for the purchase of property that we have been pursuing for some time. And we also welcome Matt Davidson as the newest member of the Open Space Committee, the build agency that merged at the end of last year. With regards to the grant, we will be participating in some meetings upcoming to talk about just the provisions of it and how some of those funds will be executed. But other than that, not too much to report. I can't answer any questions that anyone might have at this time.
Thank you. Are there any questions? And yeah, excellent news about the Barber property. All right, Planning Commission?
Okay, the planning commission met on February the 15th. We received an informational from Ms. Gilchrist, our vice chair, who represents us at the Central Perkiomen Valley Regional Planning Commission. She updated us on discussions there about a proposed land development, the Landis Tract, which is out on the Perkiomen and Schwanksville, Lower Frederick side of our municipality. And we also got a bit of information on the transportation component of their regional plan, comprehensive plan that they're currently working on. The Planning Commission undertook a continuation of discussions about various priorities that we'd like to address during the coming year. We first undertook a discussion about traffic and traffic-related issues, transportation issues, basically, I guess, if you will. And we dealt with the issue of regulating private roads in the township. Our community planner, John Miklos, brought to us examples from 3 local municipalities to review. After an extensive discussion and review of that information, we felt this time that the township is pretty well covered with their own ordinances and regulations, so we really didn't need to do any further look at that, but we felt we were adequately covered at the present time. We went on then to talk about restricting roads for truck traffic. Our Planning Commission recommends that the township look at that as a serious issue, perhaps discussing it with the police department, but we felt that the Planning Commission really at this particular time didn't have anything to offer other than to suggest support for looking at those as a possible issue to be dealt with. We did take into account that the township has added several roads that have restrictions on truck traffic. That has helped mitigate some of the issues with excessive road breakup and things associated with heavy use of commercial vehicles. But the actual additional roads that might be considered by the township ought to be addressed by the township board of supervisors in relation to conversations with the police department. From there, we went on to talk about connections, pedestrian connections in the township. As we had mentioned, or I had mentioned during my presentation in January, we had dealt with several possible connections that were possible to be instituted as part of our overall priorities for the township. We had an extensive conversation about the Schwanksville to Delphi connection, which is currently being undertaken by a working group authorized by the township. We looked at several options in addition to what was put on the table initially. We felt that those options weren't really viable for our township, so we thought that the best recommendation is to stay the course. One of the outcomes of that conversation at the Planning Commission was to pose to the Board of Supervisors the possibility of requesting that the township, in relation to Schwanksville Borough and the county, sit down and discuss the possibility of doing a municipal partnership to do we'll call it phase 1 introductory or rudimentary opening of a conduit between Delphi Village and Schwanksville Borough, with the possibility then in the future, when the county is more ready to address a trail that they've been proposing for years, to look at that as a future possibility as well. But at the present time, to create that connection that we think is very valuable and valuable to the residents, we would like to reach out to the county and suggest that they set up some sort of meeting that would enable us to look at the possibility of a fundamental connection opened in the near term rather than push it back into the future. We also discussed connections between Springmount Village and Zieglerville. We looked at several options there. We felt as a body that the possibility of reaching out to the Schwanksville Borough Authority and seeing if they had any interest in perhaps working with the township to create an easement for a trail would be a first step to possibly creating a connection that would use their land to help find that way to get to the village center. We figured that the Zieglerville Road area is the best way in which to connect the townhome area with the Zieglerville Village. We've also discussed the township building to Foy Park. As you well know, the current grant application with the county has been approved, and we will be getting sidewalking between the township building and the fire company, and we consider that a first successful step in making that ultimate connection between the township building and the townhomes and the Foy Park area and the Herculean Trail. So all that said, we would like to be able to take that first step and build off of it once that sidewalking is complete and viable and open to the public. We also talked about new developments coming into the community. They're, at this particular time, still in the process of being resolved, as we've heard in certain presentations and so forth. So we are interested in trying to further those connections that would be associated with those developments, and hope to be able to look at that in the coming year. We discussed the Saks Spur Trail. We recognize that the township is aware of that, and that we figured that one of the things that we could suggest and recommend is that perhaps Lower Frederick engage with Upper Frederick Township to sort of, we'll call it, collaborate with each other on overall connections that they have to facilitate the possibility of using planning that would encompass the Goshen Hoppen watershed as a connected area, as well as other areas in Upper Frederick that have a benefit to our community too. So that pretty much wrapped up our discussions, and I'd be happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, all right. Park and Recreation Board.
I'm Liv Leveling tonight. Katie's going to handle the report out.
Okay, so we met last night. We met last night. We discussed our upcoming events. We have the egg hunt on March 30th. That's going to be at 10 a.m. We think it's going to be a really good event. There's going to be both candy and non-candy options for those that are attending. And then last night's meeting, we did have 2 local businesses that came and engaged Art Studios and Spring Mountain Adventure Day Camp. And both of them, they've generously donated special prizes that are going to be in the eggs. Spring Mountain Day Camp is actually going to be doing a whole free week of day camp, so I thought that was pretty cool for them to do that and volunteer. We're going to be stuffing eggs on March 20th here at 5:30, if anyone wants to help out. Spring Festival, it's going to be on May 4th from 10 to 2, and as Diane mentioned, the EAC is going to be collaborating with us. They're going to be potentially providing another speaker, resources, and then also helping with staffing activities and helping bring other activities to the event. So it's going to be a good collaboration. We'll have refreshments from Candles Ice Cream and a plant sale from Memorwall. We did have some additional working group topics that we talked about, traffic garden and safety, but we're not going to discuss that because that's on the agenda for this evening. We're working on a township book club. I think that'll be a fun opportunity for township members to come see Cuddy Park, and then we'll also be able to advertise the little libraries at the same time. Public Works already said dog park signs have been hung, and then this evening, last night we discussed another grant opportunity that Pam's going to be talking about tonight, and then we are also working on the Copel Park renovation survey, and this is basically going to focus on getting the wants and needs of township members, and there will be a specific focus on playground equipment that everybody's been talking about. Finally, PWC Stream Cleanup is going to be on April 13th from 9 to 12, and sign up is currently available on the website, and there are some locations in our township. Does anyone have any questions? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If no one has an objection, do you think we can possibly move our business items C, D, and L up to the top? They're all park board related?
C, D, and L?
Yeah.
C, D, L. L, fire, oh, sorry,
I'm fine.
fine with me.
Yeah, sure.
You're up.
Okay, so we're going to, so,
Yes,
All
we're
right.
going to move C, the Coble Park upgrade authorization for the traffic garden project and the police fire request for park and rec for 2024 events up to the beginning of the meeting.
okay, so we are now on Coble Park upgrade authorization to apply for DCED grant under, okay, tell me what GTR stands for.
I will do that.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah,
1 second. Peter, we don't need to do anything since we're going out of order, is that all right?
No.
Thanks.
I want to create an amendment or something. Let's not make this a big deal. Okay. I did do a comprehensive presentation on the Coble Park rehabilitation project to the board on January 2nd. A copy of that presentation is available for review on the township website if anyone wants to review the details. As Katie reported, we're also working on a survey for public comment, which we anticipate will go live later this year. That will be available to the website as well. Just as a review, this is a large, expensive project we developed to be implemented in phases over several years to minimize economic burden on the township. Carol has completed the engineering and cost estimates for the stormwater management controls that are necessary to improve the utility of the park and also eliminate some serious drainage issues that we have at the municipal public works maintenance building, as well as making the walking park ADA compliant, which is some big pieces of this project. So the major elements of this project are costed, and the project is essentially shovel-ready. And on behalf of the park board tonight, I apologize, it won't ask me tonight. I am tonight requesting approval from the board to apply for a DCED grant under the Greenways, Trails, and Recreation Program, GTRP. This grant, rehabilitation and development of public outdoor parks, is one of the principal eligibility criteria for this grant, so it's a good match in that regard. These grants under this program cannot exceed $250,000 per project. They require a 15% cash match and an additional $100 application fee. Application is due by May 31st. Typically, award is done in September of this year. Talking to our Michael Shore, our regional director of this program, he does expect they will award in September. Last year they were a little bit late, so hopefully they will award on time. For our application, just talking through this, we would be asking for the project for this application, for this piece of work would be phase 1 only. This is a significant and essential component of the overall project. It addresses the drainage improvements for the ball fields, the playground, and the walking path. So it's a large part of the park that needs to be addressed on stormwater management. So it is a significant piece of the project. It's a real good start. Carol's estimate for this phase of the program, we can move, no, you don't have it up there, is $219,362. That's a picture of the color-coded, the work that would be completed on this piece. Which means the cash match would be $32,904.30. The application does require the usual commitment letter, official resolution, and certification that the project complied with comprehensive land use plans for the township. And in discussion, we may be able to use ARPA funds as this match. But again, we're asking, we need a commitment letter from the township. This project is likely to be a 2025 project since it will be approved in the fall of this year. But we are asking for the permission to proceed with application on this.
Thank you. I'm really happy to see this part going first because the drainage has been an issue there forever.
Yes.
And it means large portions of the park are unusable for
Correct.
large parts of the year, which is very disappointing. So, yeah, thank you for doing this. I believe we've already talked about using some of the ARPA funds for this, so we don't need to, we have ARPA funding for this, correct? Okay, great.
Yes.
Um,
That's just Carol's estimate and the breakout of all the work that we've done on this phase.
All right, so, and this includes your the contingencies as well?
5%.
Yes,
Yes.
okay, all
And
right,
her administrative costs and the supervision and maintenance.
okay, great. And I just have just one more kind of administrative question. So is this supported by the park board? That is, did you have a vote with a majority supporting it?
Yes. We
Okay,
talked about it last night and voted to go forward, yes.
okay, great. I don't have any questions. I've been seeing this for a long time. I think it's great and we need to get cracking on it.
Excellent. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, Chuck Geiser. Just to be clear, because I think there was some confusion the last time we talked about this. So the survey that will be forthcoming is really focused more on the playground equipment and really has nothing to do with this because this has to happen before anything can happen.
Right, the playground happens, there's two phases, both dealing with the stormwater management that have to occur first, all the excavation work, and then the pathway can be completed, ADA, and at that point, then the playground could be done, or other pieces of the project could be done, but the two key up front are all excavation work for the stormwater management. That's really key to having a successful project, and obviously don't want to do any other work there until that's done. So the playground would be delayed. The public comment survey we're putting together, based on your recommendation last night, I did contact
John?
John Michaelos to maybe assist with us and develop a survey on SurveyMonkey. It would incorporate, ask for comment on the whole project as well as on the elements of the playground. The playground that we have proposed, when we talked to the manufacturer, we asked for a moderately priced, what's popular right now in playgrounds. So it's a complement of equipment that we thought was a good starting ground. We're interested in hearing people's input. I know there was interest in having more slings, different types of slings. But you'll also have the opportunity to comment on the project overall. The project is posted up on the website. So we're looking for as a real good vehicle to get input. We have a lot of time now. It means we would gather information we'd have available to us as we need to make decision-making, final costing, and going for grants later on.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Go ahead, Dan.
I'll just talk louder.
Well,
Does this?
The Zoom people don't hear
yeah,
you.
they can't, you gotta go to the microphone.
Good point. So this is either for Pam, Danworth, Cratch Road, related to the drainage project that you're showing here.
Yes.
Does that take into consideration the trail network that's going to enter the park from the Prestige project? Just curious.
Yes, Carol?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you for the question, Dan. Yes, it does take into account the connection between the park and the Prestige development.
Anyone on Zoom? No? Would someone like to make it? So we need a motion to approve submitting the grant and to also approve committing 15% of the estimated cost of $219,362. Peter, is that what we need?
Yes.
Okay, would someone like to make that motion?
Also move.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
I'll get you next time, Terry. So Supervisor Halter made the motion, Supervisor Yiser made the second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you so much, because this is an important park for us. It's our most actively used park, and if we get started on this now, in a couple of years, it'll be beautiful. redone, so excellent. Thank you.
Can't wait.
Thank you, Pam.
Appreciate the board's support. Okay, this
Good
next one is the
stuff.
traffic garden project. I did provide a proposal for the traffic garden project, was presented to the board, I believe in December. As a quick review, we're proposing to use the existing macadam pad in Floyd Park for this traffic garden. It's just a coating that's put over and painted on that pad. So it would not be an additional environmental impact to the existing park as far as drainage or anything like that. It will provide a static, passive use play area where parents and children can practice street and bike safety. We're not introducing any organized activities to the park like pickleball, tennis courts, or ball diamonds and that kind of thing. And it also will not require the installation of significant additional facilities. We've discussed consolidating the educational signs that we want to put in, and we'll work with the police department on that, on a single kiosk to avoid sign clutter, keep it as neat and clean as possible, and keep it in its most natural state. The utilization of Floyd Park is limited because it does flood, and anything we put there must be flood resilient and low maintenance. This pad is located well out of the main flood current and debris field, but it will see periods of flooding from time to time. The seal master materials that have been specified creating the garden will tolerate flooding and can be rinsed off as necessary. So it is resilient to flooding and will withstand the flooding that it will see in that area. We understand that this is what's going to happen. This is a collaborative project with the police department, and you will hear from the rest of the team tonight. Our project working group is comprised of Officer Lauer, Katie Lewis, and yours truly. The project is funded by a block grant through Montgomery County as a community safety initiative run by the Department of Health and Human Services and the Office of Public Health. And go to the next slide, please. And just as a review on the breakdown of responsibilities to make the project happen, the block grant pays for the installation of the traffic garden and the signage, and Montgomery County provides the material specifications and purchasing assistance. Stencils and stenciling, stencils are actually free for us. They'll be borrowed from another township that's already done one of these. They do the lesson plans, they do the event training, educational handouts, and they also provide safety helmets for children who come to the event and do not have safety helmets. Our obligation as the township is, applying the surface coatings. Our public works crew has worked with Steelmaster to get a quote, which I'll review in a minute. Do the installation, developing and hosting and advertising an introductory public event, which we anticipate will be this year. We've agreed with Montgomery County. We will do everything we can in our power to have it built this year, to give you our approval, and have an event probably around September of this year. And we would cover any cost overruns, but if you'll see on the budget, you're about to see that there should not be too much of that. An agreement to maintain it in good condition going forward. And Montgomery County would be available to do training. If you want to do like once a year events or something like that, they will come back and do training for us and support us in that means. So this is an initiative by Montgomery County for this training event. So it's a really nice collaboration between the county, the township, and the park board and the police who are excited about this project. It's one of the most fun ones we've done in a long time. So go to the next slide, please. So this is the project cost. One of the things we did not have when I initially presented the project was a solid estimate so that you guys could look at it and decide. Our team has held a site meeting with the Montco staff. Our public works team has worked with Steelmaster to get a quote on the materials and the cost for installation. We also have solid quote for the rentals and special tools that are required. Montgomery County has provided me with the costs of the recommended educational signage, and I have also called the cost breakdowns from the installations that were done at New Hanover and the Hackborough Gardens that were done in the last 2 years under this program. So we have solid numbers on what their costs were. Things like the painting and stenciling. Montgomery County people will do the stenciling. We will have volunteers doing the actual painting. So a lot of this is volunteer support. The park board stands ready to support the job. So we now have a fairly tight estimate for the installation of our traffic garden. The block grant total is $11,750. The steel master is by far the largest piece of this project. The materials are very expensive in the installation, and we have a solid quote on that for the $5,682. The rest of it is kind of small meal. I put in the Portland cement, we have to provide that. That's really nothing, but and delivery charges. As I said, the stencils are free. We're going to borrow those from another township. Paint tools, you can buy those at Home Depot. And, again, the volunteers will be doing the actual painting with guidance from the Montco folks. The rules and educational signs provided by Montco, I have the costing direct from them. There's also a dedication sign that we could have personalized for Lower Frederick Township for $85. And then that last item is, I talked about consolidating the signs so we don't have sign clutter, sign forest, and it's like maybe a kiosk kind of thing, one central place. Looking at that, and looking online for a Hollywood nice kiosk to go in there with hold multiple signs. I found a quote for $3,500. We could possibly also get someone to build that for us as a donation, but that's just a placeholder. So you can see we still have all those costs are all the costs that the other sites incurred as well, and estimated based on the size of our pad and the size of our garden. So we still have a little bit of extra contingency there should we need it. So I'm confident that we could come in well under the block grant with a little bit to spare, depending on what may happen in the course of the project. We might want to do something additional or whatever. So at this point, another important piece of this project is designing the garden itself. Officer Lauer took on the objective of doing designs for us. She did 4 beautiful designs, did a lot of work on it. And I'd like Carissa to come up. We've limited down to 2. There were 2 that were favorites of the part of the police department, and I'll let Carissa represent her work product for you.
All right, thank you. So, Officer Lauer, Lower Frederick Township Police, just going off of what Pam said, do you mind going to the next slide? I had made 4 proposals for the traffic garden. We kind of narrowed it down to 2. So there are actually some mandatory elements that were needed as per Montgomery County. So they have some base requirements we must follow in order to have the traffic garden. These things include a 4-way intersection with stop signs, a roundabout with yield signs, crosswalks, sidewalks, parking spaces, a railroad, and an entrance into the traffic garden. So those are the base requirements that we need to be met in order to have the traffic garden approved by Montgomery County. So I have the first design here. Just a little backstory. Where I'm from, over out west, traffic gardens were really common where I was from, so I thought I would have a really good stake in designing some of these things growing up with them. So I just kind of went off based what I grew up with while incorporating the mandatory things needed in order to create the traffic garden here. So the first design here that you see is a little bit more of a basic design. As you can see, there's a roundabout there in the middle indicated by the circle, as well as you can see some lines through the roadway there, and that's indicating a sidewalk, as well as squares representing the parking spots, and then obviously the railroad that goes throughout the whole garden itself. Then we go to the next design. So the next design is more of something that's a little funner, in my opinion. I try to incorporate something a little more whimsical, but also gets the job done with the 4-way intersection, as well as sidewalks, the railroads, the roundabout, that kind of thing. But these are the 2 designs that we had picked and narrowed down. I did make 4, but these are the 2 that I thought kind of encapsulated what I thought would be fun for the community, for the kids, for parents. I think kids would enjoy this. Design personally, I like design number 2, but we'd like to give the community the option of 2 different things there. So.
Well done, thank you.
So we don't need to pick the design, you guys are gonna figure that out, right?
I think we should leave it to the police department.
Okay.
They've done the work and let them decide which one they want to, like.
I just think it's fascinating that you're required to have railroad tracks there.
I thought so too, because I kind of think, what I was doing is I was trying to incorporate Frederick and having that in mind. And you think the circle, the traffic circle over here near Wawa. So I was thinking of that, and then I was thinking, we don't really have railroads. So incorporating that was a little different, but I just tried again, like try to do whimsical with Lower Frederick in mind, but that's kind of my thought process on that.
Thank you. I just had one question. What do you foresee as being ongoing maintenance costs or just commitments?
Not much. We can talk about that. We have another presenter yet.
Okay.
Actual maintenance, the whole objective is slow maintenance. This is all painted on the surface, so it's resilient paint. And most it would do, like, if you did get flooding, you had to like power wash it off or something, you can do that, but there's nothing, all the signage you said, it's all painted on, like the stop signs, I think they're painted on the surface of the pad itself. So it's just basically a flat pad, with all the stuff on it, so it's very low maintenance. And the paints we're using are resilient, street paints and things,
So basically, at some point in the future, maybe a freshen up.
You might have to freshen it up, and the volunteers could do that again. It's just to roll it on and color.
Okay, thank
We
you.
have another, Sergeant Cass to speak to the project as well.
I know we at the police department, we're 100% on board with it, and this project allows us to be able, when we see kids, families, or they're anticipating putting this, allows us to get out of the car, speak to the kids. So most kids, young kids, are scared when they see us in a big car, big uniform. They think we're, scared. So this kind of breaks those barriers down. That's part of the purpose of community policing, to get out, associate. I know that we've worked hand in hand with the park board. I think this is just a great, another layer of what we're trying to do as a whole. And as all of us, we're good stewards of the township, and we're trying to protect for the next year and years to come. I mean, what better way than to start teaching the kids the proper rules of the road and have an understanding as they get older.
Thank you. Great job.
Thank you. Oh, well, either Pam or Officer Lauer, the things that you're showing there, the dark things are benches?
The dark things are benches.
Yeah.
We're obviously going to be careful about what we put down there as far as additional equipment. I suspect we could probably put some benches along the upper side of the thing. That is not part of what the block grant will cover, but I was thinking, we have that need for benches in other parks. We might want to do a bench donation program. I think is a good way to do it. Let people get their names on a plaque on a bench. It's a good way to do that. But the objective is to not put a lot of equipment back in that park that it's going to get damaged by flooding. But on the upper side there, if you notice next to the parking lot, there's 2 picnic tables there that sat there through the flood. The only 2 that weren't ruined. And they're basically up and out of it. They're in the same position as this pad is, that they saw flood water, but they're not in the current area, they're not in the debris field, so they didn't see any of the destructive nature. They just see water coming up and water coming down. When we're up at that side of the park, the upper end there, we can probably put a couple benches in there if we wanted to. But that's something for a later stage. We've not been trying to do that with this year's, not on this block grant. But we were thinking of, maybe doing a bench donation program or something like that.
Okay, and I guess my other question, I think you said it earlier, was within this whole development here, then there'll be a single kiosk that will have the signage and explanations of the signs and things.
Right, there's a lot of, I think I provided in the preliminary presentation, Montgomery County provides several different educational signs with biking rules and bike road safety in English and Spanish that are available for us to purchase, which is what I put into. I put the whole set in our quote. And rather than have a lot of signs up, if you look at New Hanover, they fence theirs. We obviously don't want to do that, and they have them posted along the fence. Rather than have a sign garden, we thought nice if they just put up one large kiosk thing on the upper side of the pad that has all of the rules that they can easily see and refer to. The objective is obviously that parents can come to this park anytime with their children, with their bikes and their trikes, and review the regulations and the rules, and, you know, kids can have fun while they learn the rules of the road and bike safety as well, so.
No, I thank you for making that adjustment. I know we received comments based on aesthetics.
We have
I
been
think
getting
it
comments, and we
addresses that.
appreciate the comments, and we are taking those into account as we develop this. You know, the objective is, this is a nice park, we don't wanna, you know, destroy the impact of the park, but I think this is an easy project to do, to set this up with minimal impact, and I think one nice kiosk in a moderate fake wood color will do the job nicely for us without being too obstructive.
Thank you.
So basically, we're asking for approval to go with this project.
Are there any other questions from the board? No. All right, so again, like the last one, we need a motion to approve sending the grant forward and to cover any additional costs there may be. Okay. Terry, you want to take this one?
Sure, I'll make the motion.
Okay, great. So we have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. So Supervisor Sachs made the motion, Supervisor Byrd made the second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And thank you for being so patient. I know it took a long time to get here, but we made it.
It takes a while. It takes a while to get all the numbers together. It just takes a while. We appreciate the support. Thank you.
Okay, thank
Do you
you.
need Pam for the fireplace? Or is
Um,
that Jason?
Yeah, the fireplace.
I don't think so. It's really pretty
I
straightforward.
don't think you need me for that.
No.
No.
We're just begging for help.
Okay.
I don't know why we moved that one up, but maybe there's a reason.
Oh, I didn't realize
Yeah,
she
we
didn't need to be here for that.
No,
Yeah,
no.
yeah.
We can actually let's go back.
I was
to,
trying to get her out the door.
Yeah, let's go back to A then, if that's okay. So we're going to go back up to item A, which is sewer extension project, sewer connection discussion. Is that going to be Carol or Jason? Jason, okay, great.
So as the board may recall, the system, the sewer, Fulmer Road, Riverside Avenue sewer extension was able to receive sewage towards the end of last year. At that time, we sent friendly notices to residents along the extension that they'd be able to connect if they so chose. We did have a few residents connected to the end of last year, at the beginning of this year, and it has picked up over the last week or so. And kind of circling back with Peter on this, we drafted 2 letters. The first letter would be an initial letter, which we would send immediately after this board meeting if the board authorizes us to move forward. And then the second would be the mandatory connection letter sent prior to the 60-day notice. We are currently at that point where we'd be looking for the board to pick the no later than time for residents to connect. Currently, we are on schedule where if the board picked the May 31st, that would work at the list. The board can choose whatever date they'd like. Our code does state residents have 60 days to connect within 150 feet of the right of way. If May 31st was chosen, residents would have had roughly 6 months to connect. And what you have in front of you, I gave you hard copies of Peter's edited draft letters that you would have in front of you for the connection pieces.
Any questions or comments from the board?
You said there's a clean copy?
It should be on the back of.
It's this one.
But it says grinder pump.
The
Yeah,
two
there's a
of them.
grinder pump
There's
and
two, there's one for the
then-
grinder and then one for gravity.
Oh. Mandatory connection grinder pump.
The clean one's just, it's like 2 pages, that's it.
But it still says grinder.
But the one, that's that one. This is the gravity.
Oh, but that's not clean. You call that clean?
No, keep going.
Oh,
There you go.
perfect. Thank you.
I got it.
So just to clarify, residents will be getting 2 letters, one of them reminding them of what they need to do, and the second one having the hard and fast deadline.
Correct.
And when would the first one go out?
Whenever the board's happy with the language and we're happy with the language, you can go out tomorrow, you can go out in a month.
I actually had a chance to review them before the meeting. They're well put together. They hit on all the points that really need to get passed to the residents. So basically, if we're okay with the language tonight, we just need to pick when the initial letter goes out and then when the mandatory letter goes out.
Correct.
That's what we're here for. Okay.
The mandatory letter will go out at least 30 days after the initial one. And then
Yep.
once that mandatory letter goes out, that's a hard and fast deadline. If they have 60 days to get the work done. After the 60 days goes, at any time the township can then go in and do the work themselves and charge the property owner or lien the property for that cost.
Yeah, I would imagine that if there was an extenuating circumstance with a resident, they could come in.
Yes,
Okay, all right.
and there are, as the letter states, there is financing through Penvest, or they can enter into a payment plan for capping fees, with the township, which is, that's by far and away from the township side, I think it's the biggest chunk change.
So the only comment I would make is, I also think they're very well done. I think the part where it says you have 60 days should be in boldface or highlighted in some way. Unless have I missed that? Oh, there it is. Okay, it's on the second letter. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, the second letter,
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Good. Great. Okay.
Yeah, I think everything's pretty clear in here. The only suggestion or recommendation may be the PHFA phone number for Penvest. Just put it on there, so they don't have to call you and give the phone back.
and we also on the webpage,
Yeah.
we don't have the payment plan yet.
Now,
So that needs to get go up on the webpage also.
and you guys, you have the draft of the payment plan that was, I think it was drafted in like,
Yeah.
and we did actually, we've already received one of the payments from PFHA, so we did have a resident take payment for that. It's very well streamlined. We had a follow-up conversation with them and, but that went really, where we were able to get paid directly from them and it didn't have to go through, it didn't end up going through the resident.
Okay, so again, so let's say we approve this tonight and the first letter goes out on Friday, which is the 8th. That means the second letter would go out 30 days later.
At a minimum, we could send the second letter out 45 days later, or, 2 months later. It doesn't, it's just a minimum, we're giving them 30 days to do it voluntarily, and then at some time after that 30 days is up, we send out the second letter.
Okay.
So as a minimum, we're kind of looking at 90-day window.
Yes. And my general advice would be, we send out the first letter, I wouldn't send out the second letter right on the 31st day. I'd send it maybe 45 days after the first letter goes out, we send out the second letter.
Okay.
So, it's always better to give, be a little lenient on these things.
And you had mentioned the payment plan, which I know was discussed, the summer,
Was the
2022. That would have been like one of the last things that happened before Mark left. And
Correct.
I don't recall us having any kind of discussion on that, but I could be misremembering things.
I don't think anything was approved.
Right.
I was asked to put something together,
Okay.
and that's what's in your packet. It's a very simple 2-page agreement that basically says, and I've done this in other townships, not for, this sort of thing for town fees, but I did it, where townships were replacing sidewalks and curbs, and the adjoining property owners were on to pay for that. It's just a 12-month agreement, there's just 11 payments. We're not putting out bills or reminders or anything, it's on the property owner to make sure they get the payment in on time, and if they don't, then, then they have problems. But generally speaking, in my experience, the property owners are very good. Like I said, when I did this elsewhere, we probably had well over 100 people who did this. And I think there was only problems with one of them. So generally speaking, compliance is pretty good. And it certainly makes things a lot easier for the resident not having to come up with such a big nut at once.
Did you say you included that in this packet, or was this
Not what you have on, it was part of the original email, Dropbox sent out.
Okay, I've been kind of having a problem with the Dropbox, I gotta get with you on that.
Yeah, I thought it came via email too, didn't it? Maybe Jason forwarded it, or, anyway,
I think it was an email.
But I can't.
Is that something that we need to take action on tonight? Is that why it's
I
coming
think
up?
we should take action on it before we send out the first letter. Because either we send out a letter mentioning it, or we send out, if you want to do that, or we send out a letter not mentioning it. We're not going to do it. So, yeah, if you don't act on it tonight, and we want to push everything off until the next meeting, we certainly can. But I don't think we should send out a letter about knowing whether or not we're going to offer this financing plan.
Is there any eligibility requirements? I mean,
No.
does someone have to demonstrate hardship?
No.
Thank you.
And there's no cost to it, as it's set up right now, there's no interest, nothing like that. We're just taking the payments, 11 payments over a year instead of one.
I mean, this is going to be extra work for our staff. Are we going to have any kind of just nominal administrative fee just to cover some of our additional costs?
You certainly can, it's just not, the way it's set up now, it's not set up that way, but we certainly could add it.
So when did you send this plan to us? The payment plan?
So,
Me
check.
personally,
Can you put your- Can you put your,
When did you send the payment plan stuff?
if I ever sent it, I sent it when I first prepared it, which was several months ago.
But didn't,
That's it.
Jason sent it as part of the email, I think, last Friday, the link to the Dropbox, it was in that.
yeah, I remember seeing it, I'm just having a hard time finding it. It's in our tonight's packet?
Yes, number 10,
Ah,
at the
okay.
very end.
I don't know how anybody else feels. I personally think I would want a little bit more time to digest this. and take it in, and then get this approved, and then send out the letters.
I see what you're talking about.
So is the timing that you have on this over, 11 equal payments,
Yes.
is that standard, or can that be broadened out for a longer period of time? Is that not suggested?
Yeah, there's no standard way of doing it.
Okay.
This is not something, legally controlled. You can make it as few or as many payments as possible.
I mean,
Just recognizing, obviously, the more payments there are, the more work it takes to keep track of everything, the more likelihood someone's gonna forget or miss it.
No, I understand. It's 7405 divided over 11 months is still $617 a month.
Yes,
That's painful.
yes.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I did it that way because that's how I've done it before.
Right,
It
right.
worked.
Okay.
And how many more customers are we expecting, or bookings are we expecting?
I believe originally we were, was it 51? With the potential of up to 81, I believe. And I believe we've already had one connection that was outside of 150 feet. So I think as the letter, we will send the letters out. We'll send the initial notices out. I guess we would send it to everyone who's doing this prior, letting them know that, they can choose to connect, but obviously the mandatory, for those that are outside of 150, they would be obviously receiving mandatory.
There are many more that we're still expecting from the mandatory. Have we not heard from, we've not received payments?
Oh, several. We've not had, when I say we've had minimal activity, it's picked up probably over the last month. But I believe we've gotten 6 tapping fees this year.
So 40 or so. And keeping track of, if everyone agrees, decides to do that, which I don't think they would. That would be a lot of work, but if that encourages them to start the process within 30 days, it's less chasing them afterwards. So if we need more time to see it again, but I think most of us were in support of a payment program for the people that won't have PennVest. So I say, we can talk about it in the work session, but I don't see a reason to pause too much, and I don't think there's a reason to charge too much of an interest, or it's a 1 year, once a month sort of process our office staff will go through and handle it.
I don't think we're charging any interest.
Exactly.
No.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
And
that's why I
to be
think,
honest, I wouldn't charge interest, maybe a fee, but not interest.
maybe something nominal like $100 just for the administrative costs. And I agree with Noel, I think it should be something, 11 months is tough, maybe let's make it 10 months or make it 12 months, but I think 11 months is gonna be hard to remember.
That's fine, whatever.
But I think since we're not charging any interest and it is gonna be extra work for our staff, I think we should, charge some nominal administrative fee just to cover some of our extra costs.
In this case, I personally would say just keep it to the cost. That just do a division. Don't worry about the fee. This is the process they're going through. If they're choosing this process, it's probably already enough of a burden. Maybe even work in the quarterly, so we're not cutting 2 checks every 3 months. So that would be the 617 is just a tapping fee divided by 11, right?
Not the tap-in fee.
Yes, that's the problem, yeah.
Well, if they owe us,
That's fine.
yeah, if they owe us, we can set that up, it'll have its own, it'll almost be set up like we would at escrow.
Okay.
So that way that's.
Again, if the letter says reach out to PennVest for these options, if you're not eligible for that, reach out to us for a payment plan.
I mean, that would
We
be,
have that ready.
from our standpoint, the parameters would be as important as who are we to qualify for this. So that it's not falling on our lap to choose, it's you know, they've checked these boxes and meet the criteria.
Penvest has a much longer payment plan, yes?
I believe so, yes. Maybe 3 or 4 years, 5 years maybe?
It's like one and a half, 1.5 to 1.7%.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, Pendesk is the way you should go. This is just to provide
Another
another
option.
means, make it easier. And it's in our interest, because worst case scenario, they don't pay the tapping fee, and we have to go after them. It's, not gonna be quick, and most likely what we're gonna end up with is just a lien on the property, which is not gonna get us any money unless we wanna, exercise that lien and kick them out off the property. So, I think trying to give multiple ways to make sure that we get paid is gonna be the best for the township,
So option A is pay up front. Option B would be get a Penvest loan. Option C is payment plan through the township, and each individual can choose which one is best for them, but they have to choose one.
Yes.
I'm fine with that, I think. I mean, how do people feel about having our payment plan be over a year? That would be 12 payments.
Well, I think it is, he has it as 12 payments, there's 11 at one, and then there's a final payment, if I'm reading it correctly.
Yes,
That's what this
yeah,
agreement
there
is
is,
saying.
there's like,
Okay, but they're not equal.
it's 11 at one, and then the last one's a smaller amount, but it's the 12th payment.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
It's 6 cents,
As far as I
6 cents less.
As far as I understand with the Penvest loan, one of the main, they just have to have the ability to pay it back. So if it is spread out over time, I don't think they put, I think it's up to $25,000 for the project. But they just have to have the ability to pay it back. So I think that he tried to keep the parameters low to have people be able to do this.
It's over 20 years.
Do all the residents know all the options, all 3 or 4?
Well, that's why we're sending them the letter.
Okay.
One,
Yeah.
and two, we have had meetings here.
Yeah.
Where Penvest was here, I was here, we did
But-
talk about these options at that point in time.
But they didn't talk about the last one, am I correct, like the township doing it? That's what I'm
No.
saying. They don't have that option. They don't know about that option.
We've talked about that option at meetings, but I don't know, I'm not sure if we've presented it specifically because the
Right.
board's never actually.
That's what I'm getting at. That's-
Yes.
No, you're correct, Terry. It was never presented.
Okay.
I think,
So that'll be a new one to them if they get it now?
Yes.
Okay.
personally, having looked through the agreement, I'm okay with it. My personal feeling is I don't want to wait another month on something that we might only have a minor tweak and it's not that important. I really think we should be encouraging people to get on as soon as possible, and waiting another month is just another month lost, so. That's my feeling.
No, in light of the information, Terry giving some clarification on some things, I feel a little bit more comfortable moving forward with this agreement. You're correct, we probably shouldn't wait longer than we have to.
Do you want us also to make a decision about when to send the letter out in the motion?
Yes, please.
Is Friday too soon? No?
No.
How do
Not from a legal standpoint.
From an administrative standpoint, Friday's not too good.
That's really what I meant, is could you get it out by Friday? And if not, by Monday. Does that sound okay to everybody?
Yeah, I'm
The
fine
The
with
first
that.
letter? And then when would the second letter go out? You said 45 days, that would be what, like April 20th-ish? April 15th,
It could be like April 12th. I think that's.
and then that's the one that says you have 60 days, so that'll take people into June 10th.
Correct.
Okay, does that sound okay to the board?
I'm fine with that.
Okay, so I need a motion to approve sending out the 2 letters. One will go out on Friday, the other one about 5 or 6 weeks later, with the 3 options for hookup. I think that's it.
3 options for hookup?
Yes, one is pay up front.
Oh,
The
payment
title
plan.
amount, yeah, the 3 payment plans, right. Do I have a motion?
Also move.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Chuck Geiser, second.
So Supervisor Halter made the motion, Supervisor Yiser made the second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right, now, next item B is Dolly Construction Payment Release Number 7.
Don't we need to approve this, or no?
Sorry, do we, I think we approved that in the motion. So I think everyone on the board is okay with the payment plan as written?
Might as well just
Does
vote
that
on
need-
that too.
So, Peter, do we need to have a separate vote on the payment plan, or was that included in the first motion?
I don't believe I heard the first motion. Was it in the
Okay,
first motion?
all right,
So, yeah.
thank you. So then we need a second motion to approve the township payment plan as proposed with 12 payments, 11 equal ones, and a 12th one, which is a smaller one. Would someone like to make that motion?
Also move.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Chuck Geiser will second.
All right, so Supervisor Halter made the motion, Supervisor Yiser made the second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right.
Thank you.
Dolly Construction Payment Release Number 7.
Thank you, I think that was the end. So, clearly, work is substantially complete on this project. At this time, we are recommending payment number 7 to Dolly in the amount of $38,691.30. 5% of the value of completed work, which equals only $111,608.50, is held as a retainer until the project can be closed after grass is grown this spring and the NPDES permit can be terminated. So again, we're recommending payment tonight of $38,691.30 and withholding a retainage of in excess of $111,000 for the project.
Any questions from the board? All right, someone ready to make that motion? Again, to make payment number 7 to Dolly Construction, the amount of $38,691.60, and the township will still retain the 5%, $111,608.50. I'm going to make that motion. Do I have a second?
Chuck Geiser will second.
Thank you. Supervisor Hexter made the motion, Supervisor Yiser made the second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right.
Special study.
We have done C and D. That takes us to E, which is the Goshen-Hoppen Special Study Response Letter to DEP. You taking that, Carol?
Thank you. Jason, if you could allow me to share screen, I would be appreciative. So DEP returned comments on the Goshen-Hoppen Watershed Special Study, and those comments have been addressed. Thank you. Jumped onto the wrong page, so we'll try that again. My apologies. A little technical glitch there. Try it one more time. All right, it's not as pretty a screen, but hopefully I can control that. So this is the currently updated sewer planning map, and the updated study information. And I just wanted to briefly touch on the revisions, so everybody was aware of the changes. So, on the sewer map, DEP commented that if the township does not shade the unshaded portions, which is right in, further up. That if we don't shade the unshaded parcels on Zieglerville Road between the top of the hill and Schwank Road, that if we don't shade those as a future service area, those property owners will actually need to process sewage facilities planning modules if they ever want to make a connection in the future. So these properties exist on Zieglerville Road where a sewer line exists today, and the parcels are zoned R1, so there's little potential for development of additional parcels by inclusion. But if someone wants or needs to connect an existing lot, it would be burdensome to make them go through sewage planning just to make that lot connection. So we have revised the map. And here are the parcels we were talking about. And we have revised the map, one more page, so that those parcels are now shaded in blue. Just won't let me sit over them. But those parcels you'll see are now shaded in blue, and thank you. So there's no intention to require or mandate connection of existing homes in that area without evidence of a failed on-lot system, but this allows connection for those properties in the future without significant paperwork. Also, there was a little triangle of green down along the townhouses that was shaded white before. It was actually a townhouse lot, and that's been corrected to be shaded green. So that addressed that comment from DEP. Also on the list, and I'm gonna see if I can't go back to the original page 1 there. Since our submission, William and Janet Lyben have preserved their 37-acre parcel at the western corner of the intersection of Salford Station Road and Seth Road. So that was preserved as part of the Montrose Farm Preservation Program. It effectively removed this parcel from future development. So we revised the study to reduce the potential for land development to 37 additional EDUs rather than 51, and the potential maximum build out to 93 EDUs for this sewer service area. The last thing we have in general revisions to share is the projected timeline was adjusted to indicate the design of a low-pressure force main to serve properties on Zieglerville Road would occur in the first 2 years after study approval, and in that way grant funding can be pursued in years 3 through 10. So we accelerated the design so that the township has time to go after grant funding to try and meet that 10-year deadline. So that's the substance of the Goshen-Hockman watershed sewage planning revisions to address DEP's comments. I know the complete letter was delivered to the board, and I thank you for some of your input and comments. It was very helpful. With board's acquiescence, we would return that reply to DEP this week.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the board? And thank you, Carol. That was a very detailed and comprehensive response.
No questions.
Sorry, we're going to have the board first, and then I'll get to you.
I have nothing.
No? No? Okay, go ahead, Phil.
Phil Smith, Girl Off Road, Planning
Just-
Commission member.
Can you just make sure that the green light is on?
Sorry, it's on, yes. Can we request that you provide a copy of that letter to the Planning Commission for our review of just awareness and a review of the coming meeting?
Absolutely, no
Thank you.
problem.
Anyone on Zoom? No? Okay. So you're looking for board approval to send,
Brian has his name.
oh, sorry. Okay, sorry. Go ahead, Brian.
The
Did everybody hear that?
I think,
He's asking for availability of the letter, which.
Or if it requires a right to know. Can you answer
If
that?
we would have it posted on the website, or certainly I would require a right to know request from that. It's a public document, it's not
Sorry, so you said you would require a right to know or you would not?
I would.
So would you put it on the website or should someone just come and ask for it?
Well, the final study will go on the website. An interim letter like this is kind of minutia. I'm sure if Brian Hope has a request for that specifically, that could be addressed. But the final study will actually go up on the website. That would be the comprehensive document, which would be appropriate.
Okay, did that answer your question? So if you want to see the letter right now, excuse me, you can do a right to know. If you're willing to wait for the entire study, that will be on the website.
So we're planning to send this response with the updated study back to Suzanne Banks this week. So really, we'll just be waiting for her reply so that we can post it. I mean, we could post it any time. I guess if you want to post it sooner than that, it's up to staff whether or not, how soon we can get it up.
This is Chuck Geiser. I would prefer that we give DEP a chance to look at the response and to respond back. Otherwise, I think it's a mistake to put it up there at this point. Just from the standpoint of everybody's time, getting this done, and that's the way it's always been done that way. I don't think there's anything wrong with doing it that way. So.
Okay, so at this point, you need the board to approve sending the response letter back to DEP.
That would be very helpful.
All right, would someone like to make that motion?
also move.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Chuck Geiser will second.
So Supervisor Holter made the motion, Supervisor Yiser made the second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right, next is item F, to award the 2024 oil and chip project equipment bid.
So the equipment bid for chip seal labor and equipment was opened on February 27th. There was one bidder, it was Asphalt Maintenance Solutions. They are a known and reputable contractor that has previously completed successful projects for this township. We recommend award of the chip seal equipment contract to Asphalt Maintenance Solutions at a bid price of $44,570. Stone and emulsion will both be purchased through the CoStar's contracts, probably next month.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this from the board?
Which roads fall under this?
I'm gonna have to go back and look that up, I apologize.
That's okay, that's all right.
Yeah, I have a list, I just need to go find it, I apologize.
Take your time.
I know it's on the budget presentation, which is online somewhere.
There we go. Yeah, I don't think we need any changes, so Second Avenue, Third Avenue, Audrey Cemetery, Fulmer, Riverside, Maine, Old Gravel, Rose, and Schwank.
Okay, thank you. I'm not gonna bother taking them down.
All right, so do I have a motion to approve accepting the bid from Asphalt Maintenance Solution LLC in the amount of $44,570 for the equipment and paving of the chip seal project? Again, we only had one bid.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
I'll second.
All right, so Supervisor Byrd made the motion, Supervisor Holter made the second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right, next we have award for the 2024 township equipment bid.
The equipment bid was opened on February 20th. The bids,
Sorry, who is that? Is that you, Bob?
Yeah, my old stop, you know, for the last hour and 40, 50 minutes, I can only hear Jason and Peter clearly. Everybody else is, I don't know where they are, except they're standing backwards to the mic or something. It's great when Andrew Lang got on, I could hear perfectly, but I can't understand the word you or Noel or Terry Bird or Chuck. I think Mr. Sachs got his butt once, I think I did hear him. I couldn't understand anything what Kyle was saying. Brian Lewis was fine. And, you know, even some of the people from the audience got up and that was pretty much making you make out what was there. So, just frustrated with that. I'll let you go and hopefully, I'll chime back in when there's a topic that I need to speak of. But I just wanted to give you the alert that, you know, I can't hear you, and I'm sure other people can as well.
Okay, thank you. I'm actually about half an inch from the microphone, so any closer. Is it?
Perfectly right now.
Okay.
Where you're at right now, perfect. Thank you.
So I'll take this one, this is manager error.
Do you have to turn the volume up?
I had it switched to the proper line and Zoom's switched it kind of back, so they can hear us because it's coming through my computer. So I've got it back on the right line, so the speakers are working, but.
So we're okay now, you think? Okay, well, hopefully this will be better here on in. All right.
all right, so back to.
All right, we're back to the equipment bid.
Thank you. The equipment bid was opened on February 20th. 2 bids were received. Sachs and Sons was the lowest responsible bidder at $91,550. And we recommend award of the 2024 equipment bid to Sachs and Sons.
And Terry, I assume you're going to recuse yourself.
I will abstain, yes.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the board?
No.
No. Would someone like to make the motion to accept that bid from Sachs and Sons in the amount of $91,950 for the 2024 equipment bid? What did I say? Oh. I've been corrected, $91,550. Sorry, it's been a long evening.
Chuck Yiser, I'll make the motion.
And I'll second.
Described by our chair.
Thank you. So Supervisor Yiser made the motion, Supervisor Holter made the second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously by a vote of 4-0, and we had one recusal from Supervisor Sachs. All right, that takes us to item H, Zieglerville Stormwater Project easement approvals. Is that still on the
So,
agenda?
one more time from the engineer. This is a drainage project, at the bottom of the hill, onto the, Central Borough Tower. The property owners have signed the easements that are required for the township to address the drainage improvements on Zieglerville Road. So they're before the board, for the board's signature tonight. We are grateful to those property owners for working with us on this project. Upon acceptance and signature by the board, work can proceed under the equipment bid. The anticipated expenses for project construction are roughly $28,000 in labor and equipment, about $22,000 in materials, and another $8,500 for tree removal by the tree service. So if the board authorizes project work, work could begin as soon as weather conditions are suitable to grant access, but obviously easements need to be signed first.
Can we do this in one vote for both easements?
Yes.
Okay. So this would be a motion to approve, and can I mention the property owners name by name, or should I leave that out?
I just do the address.
Okay. So this would be a motion to approve the easement agreement with the property owners on 15 Zieglerville Road and the property owner on 13 Zieglerville Road, and to further authorize the chair to sign on behalf of the township.
Also move.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Chuck Geiser will second.
All right, Supervisor Halter made the motion, Supervisor Yiser made the second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. It brings us to item I, authorization for more settlement. Peter, you going to take that? No, you're going to take it, Peter.
Yeah, so, the township was, a defendant in a lawsuit filed by one of the former police officers, who had been terminated. The lawsuit was, defended by an attorney appointed by our insurance carrier. That defense was covered by our insurance carrier. That attorney, with help of mediation done by a retired judge, was able to settle this particular matter. Before you is the written settlement agreement. This settlement agreement as part of this settlement agreement, along with the suits being dropped, Mr. Moore is receiving some payments from the township. However, all these costs are being covered by our insurance. As part of the settlement, the township, its employees, the board members, are agreeing not to discuss this lawsuit beyond just saying that it has been resolved. And then there are some other kind of more procedural issues, timing issues set forth in this settlement agreement. But it's essentially the suit's being settled, the suit is being dropped against the township as well as against our former police chief and our former, he's still a sergeant, okay. Corporal Milligan, they're all being dropped, and I need you to approve this agreement at this time.
So the motion would read that I move to authorize the township manager to sign the general release and settlement agreement with Joseph Moore.
Correct.
I'll make that motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. So Supervisor Hexter made the motion, Supervisor Halter made the second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. That brings us to item J, 1509 North Gravel Pike, authorized PennDOT traffic and engineering study.
So we received a request, one of our residents along North Gravel Pike, lives at 1509 North Gravel Pike, requesting the township request a traffic and engineering study done on North Gravel Pike. In a letter from State Representative Don Sheeran's office, it states this must be done per PennDOT for a study to be performed. As you may recall, the speed limit through this area used to be 25 or 35 miles an hour. At some point, it was changed to 50 miles an hour until you get past Southwood Station Road, where it drops to 35 miles an hour. Mr. Delotto, who is the resident at 1509 North Gravel, is making this request as he expressed how unsafe he feels with the speed of traffic and where his house and property is located.
So we're just agreeing to send a request to PennDOT to do the study. We have absolutely no control over whether that'll happen.
Correct.
Okay, I have no problem with that.
I believe this was done several years back, and I think that's what made the speed actually increase.
Yeah, that's the problem, is be careful what you ask for. They will sometimes, any comments from the board? No? Okay, would someone like to make the motion to authorize our township manager sending this request to PennDOT for the traffic study?
I'll move.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Supervisor Halter made the motion, Supervisor Sachs made the second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right, item K, DCED Survey of Financial Condition Report.
So this is a yearly report filed with DCD. The previous 3 years of financials are reviewed in regards to whether the township had a deficit or a surplus in its fund. Over the previous 3 years, the township has performed in 2020 at a 30.9% surplus. 2021, it was a 46% deficit. 2022 was 14% surplus, and in 2023, 8.5 surplus. This includes all funds excluding the escrow fund, which are not township monies. For fiscal year 2024, general fund, capital reserve, open space fund, relief fund, sewer fund capital, and liquid fuel fund budgets are approved for an 18.6% deficit. What I can say is what was presented last year, I did not take into account the sewer loan. So that 46% deficit in 2021, that is when the township repaid the portion that it had taken out for the sewer extension, and then we've obviously, over the last year, taken it back out. So I just wanted to note that it would be, this information would be different than what was presented last year when I was getting my feet wet with our stuff.
So for the public, this is a yearly requirement. DCED kind of wants a heads up if townships, or I guess boroughs as well, are headed toward financial catastrophe. So this is something we do every year and let them know how we're doing. Any questions from the board? So we just need to make a motion to accept this report and then send it into DCED as required. All right, would someone like to make that motion?
Sure, I move to accept the 2023 DCD report, CLGS 69 as presented.
Thank you. Do I have a second? I will second. All right, Supervisor Byrd made the motion, Supervisor Hexter made the second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. And that brings us to our last item, fire police request.
So as we've done previously, in previous years, we received a request for fire police assistance from Pam Wright, Park and Rec Chair. To make it easier, since they have multiple events this year, I'm asking the board to approve fire police for their 7 events. This would be the Egg Hunt on Saturday, March 30th, Spring Festival at Cuddy Park on Saturday, May 4th, the concert in Cuddy Park Thursday, June 27th, with a rain date of July 3rd, concert in Cuddy Park Thursday, July 25th, with a rain date of August 1st, concert in Cuddy Park for Thursday, August 22nd, with a rain date of August 29th, Fall Fest in Foy Park on October 5th, and Trunk or Treat in Foy Park on Sunday, October 20th, with a rain date of October 27th.
Any questions from the board? Would someone like to make the motion to approve this request for fire police for these 7 events for Park and Rec? Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
I'm going to give that to you, Terry. So Supervisor Holter made the motion. Sorry, Supervisor Sachs made the second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. So that brings us to the end of our business section. We are now in public comment. Go ahead, Dan.
Recently, the county did a wonderful job of repairing the bridge on Old Gravel Pike, the Stone Bridge. They did a restoration job. It was wonderful. The only problem is they, unlike their plan that they discussed, the Department of Transportation, they had indicated they were going to leave it available for pedestrian and bicycle use by the use of bollards in their original plan, but instead they put up barriers and piled gravel at the one end of the bridge. And that would be a wonderful asset for our township, because you could walk from that bridge, which is very, consistent with the history of our town, up to the Memorial Park, the Township War Memorial, and even all the way up to Central Park and Ziegler Village. So I was wondering what the status of that was and why did they choose not to follow the original plan, and if that's something our township could look into or comment on.
Jason, do you have any insight into that?
So we did receive a response from the county for that. That project was actually moved up for fear that apparently the base of the bridge was deteriorating such so that they pushed that project up as far as getting it completed so that they didn't have to completely rebuild the bridge. From what the county has told us, it's part of the trail plan, but they've chosen not to open it currently because it is, for all intents and purposes, kind of a path to nowhere. It's in their plan to be open in the future, but that's all based on, I guess it's like the Sunrise Trail. I mean, I can pull we did get a response, I don't know verbatim, but that was kind of the gist of what the county when we reached out to them, asking what's going on with the bridge, why is there a kind of wall blocking
It just seems like a pity because it's a nice asset for the town, and it would also enable certain people in the township to cross the bridge and get to the village without having to risk their life on Route 29. And what they did, it's counter to the Department of Transportation's plan, where they indicate they want to use that bridge. Occasionally, if they ever have to shut down the bridge on 29, the regular bridge. So I just want to know is there anything the township can do to try to dissuade, encourage the county to do what they originally had in their DOT plans, or is there anything the people in the township could do? Because it just seems like have this beautifully restored bridge that you could actually walk to from our township center, it just seems kind of, I just want to know if there's anything township might consider doing or reaching out to them to see if they can get a good decision. That's all.
I just have a question for Sergeant Cass. If someone were to walk over that bridge on foot, is there any legal consequences? I mean, it's not posted.
If it's not posted, we can advise, but we can't take any type of.
It doesn't say no trespassing, it doesn't say do not cross.
So if it's posted, we can enforce it. If it's not posted, we can just move along. We can't take any type of enforcement action.
Okay.
I mean, as somebody who likes to ride his bike and hike and walk and been over that bridge many times over the years and enjoyed it, I would fully support the township sending a letter to Montgomery County asking them to reconsider their decision to keep it closed. I don't see, put the bollard up, keep the vehicles off it. It's our taxpayer dollars and we're just sitting there looking at it, which to me doesn't sit too well. So that's my feeling on the matter. So if the group wants to put together a letter and request them to open it, I would be happy to sign it.
Yep, I agree. Ruth, go ahead.
So I have the same question for the Sunrise Mill Bridge. That was built, it's rebuilt, it's beautiful, and now it says area closed, no trespassing, you can't walk across it anymore, and that cuts off a lot of really wonderful walking routes and forces you onto nicer roads. And so the township is sending a letter to the county about the gravel pipe bridge. It would be wonderful to also request that the Sunrise Mill Bridge we open the pedestrian traffic as well. Thank you.
Do we have consensus from the board that that's something that we support?
Which one, both bridges? Yeah, I would support both bridges.
Is there some reason why the other one is closed?
Only that I was told they were doing some construction on the site, but there's no construction going on near the bridge that I could see. But it was open for a while after it was rebuilt, and now, you know, there's signs saying that the whole area is closed, so I don't know what.
Well, I can remember following comments on Facebook about the bridge that they just rebuilt, spent millions of dollars on, both positive and negative, and like you said, it's taxpayer dollars, we should be able to access it. I would be okay with sending a letter to the county requesting, you know, public access, but if there's some other extenuating reason why, which bridge is it, Gravel Pike?
Old Gravel Pike.
Old Gravel Pike, that they explain that. But I'm in favor of sending a letter.
Jason, you did get a letter, am I correct? Do you know what it exactly says, or?
I don't know what
Okay.
the response was verbatim, that's why I'm
Holding off
I
to
don't want to say live, but
Okay.
it just really, I think it's because it's.
So then you have a letter, all you have to do is get that.
Yeah, so I mean.
What it says.
Yeah, I can resend it to the board.
Okay.
What the response was, we can certainly, if the board so chooses, draft, you know, something to send back to them. But it was it checked the boxes of, this is why we're keeping it closed and whether we.
So then the reasons are on there. Yeah, just send it out then.
Okay, I'll resend it then.
Okay.
Still, I mean, it sounds like you're moving towards sending a letter, and that's better. If you're actually in favor of asking if there's any way they could see to opening that bridge so that we can do more than look at it.
Yeah, opening it to pedestrian traffic. Yeah.
Pedestrian traffic, exactly.
Okay. All right, no, good suggestion, thank you.
So I think what Jason is going to do is share the correspondence he's received with the group again, so that everybody here has a chance to absorb it, and then we could take up that discussion at perhaps the next meeting.
Okay.
Thank you. And just one other different question. I know Crystal Crest who's on the planning board and township member, is working with that committee that's studying the entire curriculum and watershed. Would it be possible to get a periodic report from her as to what progress that, you know, where they are with that, like every 3 months or so, or just so I know it spans actually 3 to 4 counties, but it would be nice to know since it does impact rural country somewhat. So, just a suggestion. Thank you.
Thanks, I mean, we can certainly ask her. Thank you. Any other questions from the public? Go ahead, Diane.
Diane Sherman, 9 Zieglerville Road. I just wanted to ask the board if they will put their thinking caps on and explore if there is any additional method to protect property rights of individuals and neighbors and the township as a whole from individuals not following codes and regulations. It's very painful to watch different hearings and hear people talk about the volatile relationships between neighbors when one neighbor doesn't follow the codes and the other one has to tell on them and all of that. So, no, the question I'm asking probably does not have an easy answer, but if you would just explore it, I don't know what the answer would be, but if you could just explore so this doesn't happen. Okay, thanks. That was my comment.
Thank you, and if everybody in the township followed the rules and were good neighbors, we'd have a lot fewer issues.
we would.
All right. Any other public comment? Go ahead.
Good evening. Bruce Sandberg, Alexander Drive. I just want to discuss the driveway issue on Lot 2, Alexander Drive, I think you're all familiar with it. Last time I was in here, we discussed it and came to the conclusion that we were not happy with the design of the swale because of all the water running across it. So it was suggested to put a pipe in. So on Tuesday, March 7th, after the meeting, I reached out to my representative, my engineer, Estelle Everhart, who did all the engineering on that project. Estelle contacted Carol, sent me an email on Tuesday, March 21st, 2003, had a discussion with Carol how to resolve the issue. She did make a suggestion. I won't get into the details of, the emails and everything, but made a suggestion, but Carol had contacted my representative, who represented me on the whole project. And time went on with it, and I was waiting for Estelle is now representing me, but she has all this time. Responded to Estelle on March 27, 23, with let's move ahead with the design. Figured she was in touch with Carol. Carol talked to her. We needed to get the design together. Time went on, and I never heard anything. And, fast forwarding, the board took it upon themselves to say, we're going to get this done. We're going to take it out of your escrow. I was never notified. I sat here listening to this meeting tonight. You talked about the sewer connections, and you're going to send one letter. You're going to give them 45 days. You're going to send another letter. There's no letter, no contact to myself or my representative, my engineer, Estelle. I have some minutes from 8/1/23 that this was brought up. I don't know if it was on the agenda or not. I figured if it was on the agenda, I probably should have been notified because I'm part of it. But Engineer Schuler is waiting submission from the applicant's engineer to address the driveway on Lot 2. So, apparently she knows she's dealing with Estelle. She's waiting for response. I guess nothing happened. She didn't reach out to her. The minutes on 10/3/23 was brought up again. I don't know if it was on the agenda again. I wasn't notified. Not mine either. I didn't know it was going to be. Issue was brought up again. Now the Board of Supervisors is suggesting reaching out to the developer to request a status update prior to taking any action to remediate these existing conditions. So reaching out to the developer, which is me, 10/3/23, still was never contacted. I went by, I saw one call flags. I contacted the township asking, I didn't call the one call, the township didn't call, the homeowner didn't call the one call. At that point, got a letter stating that what you were going to do. So my problem with it, and I'm trying to resolve it, is that I was never notified of anything. There was never any timeline put on this thing. There was never anybody reached out to me to say, this is, what's the status? This is what we're proposing to do. We'll give you X amount of time. And it wasn't even me. I had an engineer that worked on this whole project with Carol to design it, who was also working on this process. So, I have a problem with you guys just saying, you're not notified me, I'm going to spend your money, you're going to pay for it, we're going to do it our way. And I tried to send an email, I tried to suggest that, now Carol has a design, I imagine. I don't think somebody would go in there and construct this thing with all the issues that you're having with it without a design. So my request is, give me the design, I take care of it myself.
Who wants to take that? Carol or Jason? Or do you want to take this separately?
If you want a response, I think Carol or I can respond to that. If you want to consider this request, is something we have to put on a later agenda, because this is not on tonight's agenda.
Are we at a point where we can do a pause and reconsider this?
Yeah, we've been paused because of the weather. So I don't think putting another delay until the next meeting is going to make a big difference at this point.
Is there consensus in the board that that is an acceptable response at this point? To pause and then we can consider this at a future meeting?
If it isn't on the agenda tonight, then I think it should be moved to another meeting.
I'd like to regroup, put it on an agenda for another meeting, take it under consideration.
Yeah, that's fine, and I'd like to kind of validate some of the information, make sure that if there wasn't a communication or intended communication, what those dates were, because we also aren't mind readers, so we don't know what's being sent out, right?
Well, I'm just reading the minutes.
Understood, I understand that. Yeah, we can pause.
You okay, Chuck, with that? Okay, so the board has consensus that we will consider this at a future meeting. It may be the work session, and whatever meeting it is at, we will be sure that you are made aware of it. We don't know if it will be the next meeting, but it will be an upcoming meeting soon.
Okay?
Thank you for coming and sharing your concerns with us.
Thank you for your time.
Is there any other public comment? Oh, Brian, go ahead. Sorry, can you please speak up?
Unfortunately, due to the sound that we were not hearing on Zoom, I couldn't really hear it. But I will comment on Zieglerville Road, particularly there are many potholes. I know some have been filled, but they do unfortunately unfilled. So is there going to be an addressing of these particular areas that seem to have more potholes than others?
So I can try that one, since we're specifically talking about Zieglerville Road. Brian, what you might not have heard in my report tonight was that last week I walked Zieglerville Road with the Director of Public Works and also with RJ. We marked out areas that exhibited base failure, and we're currently evaluating that data to prepare a recommendation on pavement repairs for Zieglerville Road. So that is in works right now, in addition to all the incredible work the Public Works Department is doing, trying to keep up with those potholes as they appear.
Thank you for the really updated, so thank you.
Am I?
Go ahead, Bob.
Bob Burns, Zieglerville Road. Carol, I'd like to ask you a few questions on your patches that you're looking at there. I noticed about 50 plus patches were marked out from one end of the road to the other end. And would you you considering milling those out and putting a certain thickness in every patch? Is there going to be certain dimensions and requirements for each patch? Or is it going to be a generalized thing? I guess if you can give me some kind of answer to that, I can follow up with another question.
Thank you, Mr. Burns. We are currently evaluating the data and different types of approaches to pavement repair, so I don't have a comprehensive answer for you yet. We marked those and collected the data last week, so I'm expecting, hopefully at the next board meeting, to be offering a recommendation to the board, but I'm not prepared to make a recommendation tonight because we are evaluating options.
Okay, great. That's fine, and I'll hold off any other questions until that next meeting. Hopefully I'll be able to attend. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
If there's no more public comment, we're going to move to supervisor comment. Okay, that looks like we're ready to move. Is that another comment? Okay. I just have a supervisor comment. I want to congratulate the Perk Valley girls basketball team for winning a district. I think it's the second time in a row. So that's terrific for our high school. Any other supervisor comment?
Only to thank the EAC for your program the other Sunday. Although you could have arranged to have some more birds flying overhead so we could identify them, but there were a few. But no, it was a lot of fun, and unfortunately it took us, we were out of the area doing some things that we could not do our backyard count, but I look forward to doing it at a different time. Thank you.
Nothing else? All right, thanks everyone. Meeting is adjourned.